Hi guys, welcome again. Here I am today with a lot of really useful information. This time we will talk about pigments, specifically BeBrightS pigments. I want for you to learn how to use this really great, beautiful line. We have only 6 colors and you are going to make the most beautiful, beautiful mixes with this. So welcome. Let's start. Okay, so we're going to start with one very basic information, which I hope you know. There's mainly 2 types, let's call it 3 types of pigments: organic, inorganic, and hybrids. Hybrid pigments are going to be the ones that they have a mix of organic and inorganic. What it makes a pigment organic, it's mainly the presence of materials in the composition, such as carbon or titanium dioxide. When a pigment is inorganic, may have more concentration of iron oxide. How are we going to know if our pigments are organic or inorganic? Since we're talking about BeBrightS, it's important that we know that this line it's hybrid with more consistency of organic, meaning that it may have a little bit more of carbon and titanium rather than iron oxide. Excuse my confusion. Anyways, so in this case we're going to figure out which one of our pigments it's more organic and inorganic. I have 2 little glasses of water here. Our most probably organic pigment is going to be brown 1, and how we're going to figure out, if we place a couple of drops, you will see that the pigment automatically starts mixing with the water without need of me having to mix it all over. Okay, that is going to be an organic pigment. It's water soluble. And then the pigment that we have that it's more on the inorganic side, but there's still hybrid, it's going to be brown 3. And if you see here, you will see that the particles, they do not mix as easily. But there's still particles that are water soluble. So it's important that you know which pigment is organic and inorganic. Now that pigment, it's the only one that it might separate a little bit more if you leave it with that movement for too long, but in my opinion, it's going to be the pigment that you're going to be using the most, since we're going to be working with colors rather than compositions. So let's start with our colors, the description of each one of them, and how we're going to figure out the base colors, the description of each color, and what they're going to be my favorite mixes. So guys, we're going to start now describing each one of the colors and how we're going to start working with them. First, we will have in our brunette area, brown 3, 2, E1. In our blonde area, we will have brown 6, 5, and 4. Now, if you have noticed, I went from higher to lower. Our line goes from brown 1 being the darkest to brown 6 being the lightest. Now in that case, we will always have to have one color that it's going to be our base color, and from there we're going to start darken it, or we can make it lighter, going up or down with the color. So in this case, we will have brown 3, where it's going to be, it's the one color that I like to use as a base. And what I like to do, in this case, how you're going to see the main base colors, it's doing this little test in which I have placed these glasses with water and mix the colors so you can give yourself also another visual idea. And here when we place 2 drops or 1 drop of the color in a cotton, you're going to see that the cotton itself starts fading the color, and it's going to be easier for you to see how neutral and how the color can fade over time. The lightest it becomes, that means that it's going to be what we call the light fastening of the color. Then we will go with brown 3. I said that it's usually my base color. From here I add or I just work with it by its own, because these colors we can build them up, meaning that if we create more passes, we can start building the color slightly darker, maintaining its own color. It doesn't change, just maintain the color, so make sure that we know that. Now, brown 2 is going to be slightly darker and warmer. It has the characteristic of having a more reddish base. And as you can see, it's already darker, my apologies. It's already darker. If we were to talk about bases, brown 3 will have a neutral base with more oranges. I hope that you can see this difference with the light and on the paper. While brown 2 is going to be slightly warmer. Now we're going to talk about brown 1. Brown 1 is going to be our darkest color. And we're going to see that we can identify right away the amount of black that we have in this color. If we have black, obviously we are going to be creating, that means that we have more carbon. Therefore, we need to keep this in mind. Why? Because with this black, that means that this black may become a little bit more ashy over time. And I hope you can see the differences: neutral, warm, and cool. The dark portion of this color automatically makes it a cool tone. Now we will go with brown 4. Brown 4 is going to be probably one of the darkest one in the colors that we're going to be using for blonde, and we also have a red base. And we will see how bright the red orange base becomes in this color. I'm going to grab a little bit of water in my Q-tip to be able to bring down the color. Now let's not forget, this is cool with more black. I'm going to make little notes in here so you can remember them later, and most likely you will have a couple of words in this video showing up as I talk. So brown 4 is going to be the first light color for our blondes. These will have more red, which of course, needing it for the blonde, we are going to be it's going to be a very suitable color for redheads. So if you ask me, I'm going to start giving you some tips. Brown 3, brown 4 would be a really nice combination for me for a redhead. or even a brown 2 and a brown 4, depending on how warm I want the color to be. Now, this brown 5, it's going to be always my base color to start building for a blonde. Why? Brown 5, it's going to be the more neutral, and it will have more of a green base, more of an ashy healed. What does it mean, ashy heel? That it's not going to be yellowish, it's not going to be orangey, and it's going to be the more neutral color for your blondes. Most of the time when I have my blondes here, I start working with this color. This is a beautiful color for blondes, and I start adding brown 4 if I want to warm it up, brown 6 if I want to light it. Okay, so now we will see brown 6, which is the last one. With brown 6, I'm going to do the same. We're going to place 2 drops on the cotton, 2 drops on the paper, and we are going to start displacing the color so we can see the bases. We can immediately see the base of this brown 6. I'm going to be super honest, this brown 6, I have never used it on its own. I usually mix it with either brown 5 or brown 2 when I want to lighten the brown 2, maintaining its own color. The combination of the red here and the yellow here makes the really nice, beautiful warmth. I hope that this visual will help you to understand what are the main colors that we have for our brows. So let's summarize, let's make a nice recapitulation. If for your brunettes, you will need brown 3. In my personal opinion, brown 3, it's my go-to, and brown 3, it's the one that I start warm it up with the brown 2, I darken it fully with brown 1. This combination, brown 1, brown 3, it's beautiful. You can do 8 drops of brown 3, 2 drops of brown 1, and you have a beautiful dark brown for your light skin, darker hair color ladies. Okay, when we're talking about blondes, you will need to start creating your colors. You can work straightforward with the brown 5, and after brown 5 you can lighten it with brown 6, and then you can also make it warmer with brown 4. If I ever had a redhead, probably I would go with brown 4 plus brown 3, or even plus brown 2, depending on how dark I want to go. Or I could even do a nice beautiful combination between brown 4 and brown 5 for your redheads. Okay, for those that they're extremely blonde, I would start probably, which has never been my case, if I were to have probably an albino, I think I would go, talking about extreme cases, I would mix brown 6 and I would start adding brown 5 as I go. Now, when we start mixing colors, let me give you a tip. Always mix colors in even numbers or multiple of 3. Why? Because if you mix 3 and 7 and then you need to make more of a mixture, you will need to prepare the entire mixture, because we cannot count 3.5 drops plus 1.5 drops. But if you do 6 and 3, then you can do 3 and 1, in case you just need a little tiny bit just to finish the second brow. Now, the good thing is that these colors, they're so good. They have a nice consistency. They, in my experience so far for me, they do not dry during the procedure. So with 10 or 12 drops, I have plenty for both brows. We also have a diluter in the line, which probably you can add one or two drops of diluter for in case you're a little bit heavy-handed. But remember that a diluter is going to separate the particle of colors, does not change the color. Very important. Okay, so you can always add probably a drop, but I would prefer you to mix a little bit more rather than add diluter. If you're going to be working with diluter, minimum 2 drops. So if you need more, you're going to be doing always whatever you did plus 1 drop. So make sure that you can divide the combination into 2. Now let's talk about my favorite combinations. My favorite combinations, believe it or not, when I want to create kind of like a nice, I'm not going to give you so many drops and so many drops, because that is going to depend on how dark you want to do it, that it's going to depend on how deep the color you want to be. My only advice is going to be that you start with the light color and you start adding by 2 drops of the darker color. So that means start with 6 drops of, let's say, one of my favorite combination would be brown 2, brown 5. This is going to give me a really beautiful dark blonde, to call it somehow, but it's really neutral. This one has a red base, this one has a green base, so they neutralize each other, they heal beautifully. So what I would do in that case, 6 drops of here, 6 drops of brown 5, and then add 2 drops of brown 2, and then 2 more until you have the consistency, the desired consistency. Not consistency, but the color. Now, how you're going to test the color? What you can do, it's with a little bit of, with a Q-tip, I'm going to do it here in my hand. You can test it on your client's head, forehead, and then smear it until it becomes translucent. That way, and wait for it to dry so you have an idea on how that color could become warmer, cooler, or how it's going to be the combination with the color. You can do that with all the colors that you're going to be testing. Now, of course, clean after each color. I don't need to say that. Now, so I said one of my favorite combination, brown 2, brown 5, and then another one that I really like, it's brown 3 plus brown 1. This is the one that sometimes I use the most, because for some type of skins or some hair color, brown 3 might be a little bit too light, but this has enough power to make it darker. What else? When we're talking about my blondes, of course, I've always start with brown 5, and most of the time brown 5 is going to be the perfect start, and I rarely use it with any other color. When I want to darken it a little bit without changing the warmth of it, I will go always with brown 3 and brown 5. Probably the colors that you might think you may use the least, there might be anything between probably brown 6, in case you had to choose 2, 3, or 4 colors. Depending on your clientele, you will have to choose depending your main clients, the ethnicity that you're working with. I mean, it would be, I don't want to say silly, but it wouldn't be okay if you live in Sweden for me to tell you, no, you need the brown 1. Probably you will never use the brown 1 in Sweden, right? Or I don't know, if we are in some places in South Africa, you might never use the brown 5. So you have to be smart when you choose. If you're going to be working with clients of a little bit darker skin, meaning fits budget 4, 5, and 6, that means from Latin Americans and much darker, probably you will need most likely brown 1, 2, 3, and I would suggest brown 6 to lighten any of the other colors. Okay, if you are in Europe, let's say Italy, or if you are in Spain, probably I would suggest to get brown 3, 4, 5, and 1 to darken it a little bit. And oh, by the way, brown 1, you can also use it in eyes for the eye shading. It's a beautiful color. So anyways, 3, 4, 5, and then brown 1. Okay, if you are in Europe, those are kind of like your to-go colors. Now, if you can get them all, that's going to be a plus for you, because you will have a wide variety to colors to create. And I would love you to tag me in your Instagram for me to see the heel results. Let's share.